Yes, thank you, boys. Appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. It is 6:30 on this May 4th, 74 degrees. I'm Mike Ewing.
And I'm Jamel Holliperrick. So glad you're joining us. It is Woo Friday. We don't have as much energy as those little boys, but
no,
we do our best.
I wish I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be pumped. And the weather?
Going to be nice.
A little hot today, but going to get some cooler temperatures in a couple of days.
Kind of nice, I think.
Preview of summer, yeah. Temperatures have been, well, hot, nice last couple of days. A little bit breezy yesterday, not so much today. I think we'll slash the breezy from the picture this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid to upper 80s by noon, up into the low 90s for a high. 92 at Wichita. That's 4 degrees warmer than yesterday, if you're keeping track. Dense fog advisory in effect this morning for the northwestern part of our state. That's until 9 a.m. We do have clouds in the northeast, and that's actually what's left over from some strong storms that popped up here in south central Kansas much earlier this morning, just after midnight. Temps right now in the 50s out west. We have 60s to 70s across the eastern half of the state. 71 Hutch, 72 degrees in Wichita. Winds coming around to the south for us. They'll be out of the south in the east, light and variable in the west, but not quite as breezy as yesterday. Plenty of sunshine overall today. Everyone up into the low to mid 90s for highs. Warmest temps in the southwestern part of the state. A repeat performance it looks like for Saturday, so we're going to start out the weekend summer-like, but cooler temps not too far off early next week. More on that here in just a bit.
Okay, thanks, Ben. We are following some breaking news this morning. A 4-hour standoff in southeast Wichita has ended peacefully.
It's an update to a story we told you about last night at 10. It all started last night about 8:45 when 911 dispatchers received several calls reporting shots fired in the 11,000 block of East Long Lake. That's near Greenwich Road, and Harry. When officers arrived, they determined that they identified a suspect and tried to convince that person to come out, but he instead retreated from the porch back into the house, and that's when they moved in.
Spot had to be called, but the individual, once we gained access to the entry to the house, ultimately gave up and was taken into custody without incident.
Officers did find a house in the 11,000 block of East Funston that had some shots fired at it, at least one shot hitting the house. There were 5 people inside that home at the time, none of them hurt, luckily. Police are currently questioning the suspect. He could face charges of shooting into an occupied house.
For breaking news stories, when they happen, go to KAKE.com. You can also get breaking news by following KAKE News on Twitter or on the KAKE-TV Facebook page. And before you head out the door, we want to catch you up with what happened while you were sleeping.
Yes, besides that standoff. And for that, let's check in with Phil White, live in the KAKE newsroom. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mike and Jamel. 2 people had to be flown to a Wichita hospital after a one-car rollover crash in Cowley County late last night. This happened about 10 o'clock near 132nd Road and Cowley 3. That's just northeast of Oxford or about 6 miles south of Udall. The 2 people were flown from the scene by separate medical helicopters. Cowley County Sheriff's deputies tell our news partners at KSOK Radio, who took the picture you see here, the car was northbound on Cowley 3 when it tried to pass another vehicle and the driver lost control. That car entered the ditch, hit a pole, and then flipped. The car that hit that pole hard enough it caused the top of the pole to snap off. Deputies had to shut down the county highway for a while. It is back open this morning. The names of those involved in this crash have not been released, but both victims are still in critical condition in Wichita. Live in the newsroom, Phil White, KAKE News.
Okay, thank you, Phil, for that report. It was 5 years ago today that the town of Greensburg, Kansas was hit by a deadly EF5 tornado. The 1.7-mile-wide tornado destroyed 95% of the town with wind speeds of 205 miles per hour. 10 people in the town died and at least 60 people were injured. It was the strongest tornado of an outbreak that day that spans several states. Today, the city will be presented with the Victims Memorial to the city of Greensburg at the Big Well Museum under the water tower in the town at about 2 o'clock.
Work is to continue at Hawker Beechcraft this morning after the company announces restructuring plans. Thursday, Hawker Beechcraft announced a prearranged Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. According to the plane maker, the company reached agreement with a majority of its lenders and bondholders to the restructuring plan. It eliminates about $2.5 billion in debt and about $125 million of annual cash interest expense. Hawker's had financial trouble dealing with all its debt during the general aviation downturn.
They've been telling us all along that they're going to file the Chapter 11, so it's really nothing new to us, and there's not going to be any change in work policies and work structure, so it's business as usual.
Hawker's news release saying the company will continue its operations without interruption during the restructuring process.
Leaders and experts in the community say the announcement was not surprising, but rather disappointing. Wichita and Sedgwick County leaders say they have been in conversation with leaders of Hawker Beechcraft and were not surprised the company filed for Chapter 11. The aircraft maker's CEO Steve Miller says the restructuring plan is supported by a majority of its lenders and bondholders.
Bankruptcy doesn't give them the ability just to jettison off all their contracts and obligations. It makes them retool them, rethink them, revisit their partners, come to agreements, and then move forward. And I think that's what we'll do as a county and a city and the state, too.
City and county officials say their legal staff will continue overseeing the company's Chapter 11 filing. Leaders say they will do everything to make sure the company honors its contracts.
New this morning, Overland Park police are asking for your help in identifying 3 suspects who used checks stolen from a Wichita victim. Officers say the suspects used the stolen checks at retail businesses on April 19th and 24th. Now, you're going to see some pictures of the 3 suspects. There they are. The total loss in this crime is about $2,800. If you recognize any of these people and have information on this case, you're asked to call the TIPS hotline at area code 816-474-TIPS. That's 816-474-TIPS.
There are new developments overnight in the diplomatic standoff in China.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is feverishly working on a further resolution, and now the blind activist says he fears for his life and is desperate to visit the U.S. Tamon Bradley has the latest from Washington.
The stakes are high this morning as Chinese activist Chen Wancheng fights for his freedom. The U.S. is trying to balance its support for human rights while maintaining its important ties with China. Chen left the U.S. Embassy in Beijing to be with his family, but now, fearing for his life, he's begging Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for protection. My situation right now is very dangerous, Chen tells a reporter. Basically, right now, I'm worried. The U.S. is scrambling to come up with a solution.
We want to express our appreciation for the excellent cooperation and outcomes of this 4th meeting.
The State Department says U.S. officials in China have spoken to Chen, who's currently being treated for injuries at a Chinese hospital. If the U.S. decides to help Chen, it may be impossible to get him back from Chinese authorities. Diplomatic discussions are still ongoing, but some Republicans believe the Obama administration dropped the ball.
If these reports are true, this is a dark day for freedom, and it's a day of shame for the Obama administration.
The United States was caught in the middle of the crisis when the blind activist made a daring escape from house arrest and traveled to the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. When Chen agreed to leave the embassy, he and U.S. officials did not know that his wife had apparently been beaten.
The interrogator told her very, very clearly that if your husband did not walk out of a U.S. embassy, we will kill you.
China's foreign ministry says that Chen can apply to study abroad in what may hint at a possible resolution to this crisis. Tamon Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
All right, time now 6:38. Coming up, a toddler makes a shadowy discovery.
We'll show you what we mean when we take a look at this week's viral video, so stay with us.
Starting out this day with a dense fog advisory in effect for the northwestern part of Arkansas. That's until 9 a.m. Very mild temps around the entire state. It's going to turn into a sunny, hot afternoon, though. Your forecast coming up.